So yeah, Mignolet, general chat, maybe a bit of Adrian. This is The Agenda. I am Dan Austin from Liverpool.com. This is Paul Gorst from the Liverpool Echo, and we're going to talk about a Liverpool footballer that finally departed Anfield yesterday, Paul. After 6 years, it's hard to believe that it's been that long, but Simon Mignolet has joined Club Brugge. He's gone back to Belgium for a fee potentially rising to €9 million. Feels like decent business for Liverpool for a second goalkeeper. What I want to talk about, though, is how we look back on him. Because it's fair to say that Simon Mignolet has had a career of ups and downs at Liverpool. He starts and probably peaks with that penalty save against Stoke City in his first ever match, back under Brendan Rodgers. He ends by winning a European Cup, even though he wasn't playing a lot of the games. There's an awful lot. There's a big roller coaster in the middle there, isn't it, where he's constantly on people's lips. He's constantly an issue that people are talking about. How do you think that, in the grand scheme of things, history will look back on Simon Mignolet?
It's an interesting one, this, because I think it generally will differ person to person. Normally there's like a general consensus with players when they leave or they sign, and I'm not too sure where Mignolet will sit, because for me, I thought he was a decent goalkeeper, very professional, very solid, dependable, and then every so often there'd be the odd clanger which was highlighted to the nth degree, and that's what a lot of people seem to remember more than the saves and the good performances. You mentioned to me just off camera there that his win ratio was only 51%, which seems remarkably low for a goalkeeper who played for Liverpool. But then you factor in the fact that he was playing at a time when, like, obviously he had that first season and he was Liverpool, such a good season. So many people remember that for so many years, that 2013-14 season. Probably the best Liverpool have ever played in my lifetime, if I'm honest, and he was the goalkeeper for that. But then it fell apart. Brendan Rodgers lost his way, as a lot of Liverpool managers tended to do, and he was part of that. And he, as you mentioned, it's just such a roller coaster of a career, condensed into 6 years. Personally, I look back fondly on him. I thought he was decent, dependable. Never rocked the boat when he could have done at certain times when he lost his place to Loris Karius, who for me was not as good a goalkeeper as Simon Mignolet. When Alisson came in, he freely accepted that this was a goalkeeper who was streets ahead of him and he was one of the best in the world, and he could accept being second choice to him. So for me, he'll leave with his head held high, and good luck to him.
I want to come back a little bit later to talk about his relationship with Alisson Becker and also what that now means for Adrian coming in as the second goalkeeper. But first, just to go back to when he joined, it always felt like it didn't quite fit with me. He was a dependable Premier League goalkeeper. He was competent at Sunderland. He'd done quite well. I understood that, Pepe Reina at the time had a really poor season the year before. Brendan Rodgers, it felt like, just didn't want to keep him around. But to set your team up the way Rodgers did, playing out from the back, playing short goal kicks, looking to, chip the ball over on rushing forwards to your full back to create an attack, Simon Mignolet was never going to fit that. He was never a goalkeeper that had a good level of distribution. He was never a goalkeeper that could really even kick the ball beyond the halfway line. That was just never his strength. He was a shot stopper at best. It just always felt like a signing that didn't make an awful lot of sense from Rodgers to me. If he was going to look for a goalkeeper, someone who is a bit more like a Karius or a Claudio Bravo or Ter Stegen, someone like that, not necessarily those players, I don't mean, but someone who is based on getting the ball out quickly, who's based on finding the defenders accurately, is someone that would make more sense. Mignolet, to me, was almost the antithesis of what I would expect a Rodgers goalkeeper to be. Yeah,
but then you're getting into was he Rodgers' signing? Was he a transfer committee signing?
I remember those days.
Well, I remember it well. It's there was a lot of muddled thinking behind the scenes at Liverpool, it seems, particularly over transfers. None more so than when they bought Roberto Firmino and Christian Benteke within weeks of each other.
Yeah.
But back to Mignolet, you're right. He wasn't someone who was particularly who excelled with the ball at his feet. We all probably remember that mishap at Burnley on Boxing Day, don't we, where he kind of somehow let it roll out for a corner.
It was only a few weeks after Loris Karius had kicked the ball out for a corner from a goal kick wasn't it? I think that was a real dark spell for Liverpool goalkeepers all round, really.
Passing it out for a corner, you've never seen the likes. I agree with you there. He was never someone who it's kind of like a Spanish goalkeeper, if you like, who's very comfortable with the ball at his feet. Someone who dare we say, Adrian is. We all know Alisson is. He likes to chip it over on rushing strikers, doesn't he? And then do a little Cruyff turn if he can get away with it. Mignolet was more rooted in the old school style of goalkeeping, shall we say? Someone who's very dependable with the ball. in his hands. Very good shot stopper. I think Liverpool kind of clinched Champions League football in 2016, was it? On the strength of one save that I remember him making against Stoke. I think it was Berahino, possibly. Absolute world-class save that kept it at 2-1, and Liverpool got the 3 points that took them into the Champions League eventually, with the single point on the last day. But yeah, I do agree with you there in terms of him not being a Rodgers goalkeeper. But as I say, I still look back on his Liverpool time fondly. Just for that season, and he's just for 13-14.
He had a lot of longevity as well. I think, when we start talking about it, he had that great season in 13-14, and then 14-15 the wheels start to fall off everything, not just Simon Mignolet, but his performances did drop that season. At that time, if you'd have told me he'd still be here in 2019 and that would be when he was leaving, I'd have been extremely surprised to think that he would do that amount of time. And goalkeepers have been brought in to replace him in that time. So Loris Karius is bought as a first choice goalkeeper. That's the idea. That's what Jurgen Klopp wants to do. He gets the broken wrist, I think it was, on the American tour, which means he can't start, and then they do this chopping and changing with Mignolet and Karius. The man's character is really highlighted by that. The fact that these people have come in, or he's had these spells of poor form. I remember him talking about the one that he lets in from Negredo at the Etihad Stadium, which is a really poor error that he had to come back from. It says a lot about his mentality that he's lasted this long, albeit in the last season he barely played for Liverpool, but to be at the club and to be valued at the club after a career which has been dotted with significant errors, and supporters have been on his back over them quite a bit as well. And you could always sense at Anfield, if the ball was passed back to him, that there was a fretfulness in the air, shall we say, about his kicking. But it tells me an awful lot about his determination to succeed and to make the best of things, and to be a competent footballer. He could have decided to go to Club Brugge 3-4 years ago if he really wanted to, if he wanted to give up, but he stuck at it at Liverpool and has ended up being rewarded by winning the biggest trophy you possibly can in the game. Yeah,
well, and Klopp said it yesterday, didn't he? Once his move was confirmed, he said, in 30 years in football, if you ask me who the most professional player was, Mignolet could probably be number one, and that's just testament to how professional he has been behind the scenes. I know that they've been so impressed by how well he's handled losing his place 18 months ago. Even when he freely admitted that he perhaps shouldn't have lost it to Loris Karius, he accepted it with Alisson and worked hard, kept his head down. And it's all cliche and dare we say even boring to highlight these qualities, but not every professional footballer has them, do they? And Simon Mignolet had it in spades, or still does have it. So I think it's only right to reflect on that part of his character, because he wasn't he wasn't your typical eccentric goalkeeper. He was very hard working, and he kept his head down. And good luck to him. Liverpool now have got a very flamboyant and open character in Alisson Becker in goal, and they're the type of goalkeepers that you want, aren't they? I think
they're the ones you fall in love with.
Yeah. But yeah, fair play to Mignolet. Good luck to him, I think, at Bruges, where he's only 31, and to be fair, I'm actually quite surprised that he's decided to go back to his homeland, because it's not the strongest league, and I think a goalkeeper of his quality can still play for several years in the Premier League.
What the move has done is highlight Liverpool's efficiency in the transfer market as well, because he's on the bench on Sunday for the Community Shield. Within a couple of hours he's gone, he's in Belgium, and a few hours after that Adrian is being pictured in a Liverpool top at Melwood with a new signed contract. The club have acted really smartly, I think, in terms of they'll have had this in the back of their minds the whole time over the summer. It seems like it's totally Mignolet's decision to leave. If he'd been happy to stay, Liverpool would have kept him, but they've clearly done the groundwork with Adrian over the course of the summer to say, listen, we're really happy with this fella, and if he wants to stay, we're going to keep him because he served us really well. But if he moves on, we're going to come and have a chat and we'll sort something out. He was meant to go to Real Valladolid, I think, yesterday, before it turned out that the offer had come in from Anfield. He, to me, seems like another one with the kinds of character and the kinds of experience that can play that role really well, because there's a fair chance that if Alisson Becker stays fit and Liverpool gets some tough draws in the domestic cups again, that he's only going to play 2 matches next season. If they get knocked out in the third rounds again, which is perfectly plausible, you can't plan to get to the final of those competitions, that he does 90 minutes in the League Cup, 90 minutes in the FA Cup, and that's his season done. He seems like someone who could do that really well, could be a good character in the dressing room, but also, if needs be, if Alisson breaks a thumb in training and is out for 4 weeks or whatever, we can play him in league games, in European Cup group stage games, and feel like we're all right, because stylistically he's not exactly the same as Alisson Becker, but just not as good. But from whatever I've seen him, and certainly against Liverpool, he's a loudmouth. He kicks off on people an awful lot. He's a leader, but also he's really comfortable on the football from what I've seen of him as well. So it feels like one that, as a sort of glass door option if needs be, makes sense. It
does. He's another one. He's had 6 years at West Ham, and he hasn't always been first choice, but I wrote a piece on him yesterday. I think he's clocked up 145 Premier League appearances, which is a lot of experience. Simon Mignolet was at around about the 200 mark, and he's been in the Premier League for 9 years. So Liverpool are getting in a vastly experienced goalkeeper, another dependable one who's, as you say, a little bit more stylistically similar to Alisson. Probably better with the ball at his feet than Simon Mignolet, as he proved when he scored in Mark Noble's testimonial, even though the other team pretty much let him run through. It's a decent move. It's not, Liverpool haven't had to dip into any kind of non-existent transfer budgets. He's coming in on a free transfer, and it seems like he accepts that he's going to be second choice, but he's making all the right noises about putting a little bit of pressure on Alisson, and we don't expect him to overtake him by any stretch. But it's good that Liverpool haven't got a world-class goalkeeper, and then the second choice is Kevin Kelleher, who's barely played a minute for the senior team in a friendly, let alone a competitive game. So it's a good option to have, I think. One in, one out, very, very similar levels. I'd suggest Mignolet and Adrian.
Right, that is all that we've got time for. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and press the notification bell. It means that you won't miss any in the future. Christian Walsh has also written a really good thing on what history will say about Simon Mignolet for Liverpool.com. So if you fancy checking that out, make sure to do so. In the meantime, though, thank you very much from Paul. Thank you from me, and enjoy the rest of your day. All the best.